why don't you sell your old cameras? Not selling it. Like, and then flat. You saw that? This little mirror thing here? If not, don't mention it in my comments. My camera collection. Ooh, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. And today I want to share with you all my camera collection. So I've been taking pictures now for almost, I think this makes year 13 from the first time I picked up a camera. Started shooting for my high school newspaper, and I was shooting with like a Nikon, I think. But I remember when I first wanted to take photography seriously, I was looking up cameras, Sonys, Nikons, Canons, and the operating system for Canons were just the most easy and efficient for me to learn. So my granddad actually bought me my first camera ever, which is the Canon Rebel T5, with just kind of like the basic stock lens, 18 to 55 millimeters on it. I shot most of my early stuff with the T5, probably from like, I'd say 2015 up until honestly 2019, 2020. That was my go-to camera. Even though it was a crop sensor, I found that it was better for me to be able to maximize the quality with the crop sensor before I decided to go up to like a full sensor camera or anything like that. As I was researching being a photographer, I realized that there were different types of lenses. These starter lenses are more plastic, and then you get into like prime lenses and full frame lenses that are actually made of glass. So the next lens that I actually got is attached to my film camera, but it was the Canon 85 millimeter lens. Aperture goes all the way down to 1.8, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And so I bought this lens. And I attached it to my crop sensor camera. Now that was a really bad mistake, because what I didn't know is that crop sensors actually magnify the focal length of a full frame lens. So if you have something like an 85 millimeter and you put it on a crop sensor camera, it's actually gonna magnify it. And I believe it turned out to be like a 105 millimeter lens or something around those lines. I can put the actual magnification in the comments below. But that became really interesting for me because I started to realize just how all of this equipment started to work. I felt like I knew, but I was learning on like a more technical level just how all of these pieces can go together. So I started to research a bit more, stayed with the 85 millimeter for like a long time, and I was renting lenses as well. The first lens that I rented was the Sigma 18 to 35 millimeter art lens. That lens was designed specifically for crop sensor cameras. So I was able to get away from this plastic lens, get some glass on it without having any magnification. I fell in love with the art lens so much that I went ahead and I bought me a Sigma 35 millimeter art lens. So I'm personally not a fan of zoom lenses. I like standard focal lengths, so it's just one focal length, and then if I need to switch, I'll go get another lens. But this Sigma art lens and this Canon 85 millimeter lens are the only lenses I've ever bought for like my entire collection. I have one that's good for like full body if I needed to, but they both have really low apertures. The Sigma art lens has a 1.4, and then the Canon 85 millimeter has a 1.8. And as I was creating more, shooting more, I think it was around 2019 that I wanted to start getting into film photography, just to see what it was like. And so the first film camera that I bought was this Canon Rebel G. Don't kill me because there's no cap on it. But I bought this. It was like $66 on Amazon back in 2019. And the reason I bought this specific camera is because it was one of the later film camera models that Canon had made before they switched over to making digital cameras. So all of the lenses that I have that I connect to my digital camera also can fit on my film camera. And so that was just really convenient for me because I already know how the focal lengths work, I already know how the apertures work, and it just allowed me to create a different style with a different piece of equipment. And as I started to get familiar with like 35mm film, I just like to push myself. I like to see just how much I can learn, just how far I can go. So I went ahead and I bought me a medium format camera probably like 8 months later. This is the Yashica D, which is a dual lens. It has this kind of pop-up viewfinder here. And so what dual lenses are, is if you're looking down in your viewfinder, it's gonna show you here based on this top lens, but the image is actually being captured on this bottom lens here. And the way you load film in this, which I thought was really cool, is you kind of have to untwist this bottom part and then it lifts up, it's like, whoa. And then you load film in. Don't worry, I have to get this fixed. So it's okay that there's film in there right now. And then you have your focal length on the side. So this goes, if I'm not mistaken, it like zooms in and out on the side. And then you kind of have to press this button here and turn to wind the film forward. So it's a very intentional process when shooting with this medium format camera. And so this really taught me to slow down because on digital cameras, I'll shoot until my card is full. On a 35mm camera, I can shoot 36 shots per roll. This camera only gave me 12 shots. That was the most stressed I think I've ever been when I first started shooting film. But once I got the hang of it, I fell in love with it. And so this was my combination for a while. Still had a T5, just with better lenses, had a 35mm Canon Rebel G and this Yashica D medium format camera. I was walking around everywhere, shooting everything. Then Canon dropped mirrorless cameras and I was stressed because I felt like I was saving up to get like a Mark IV, which is just like Canon's full frame cameras. But then they dropped these beautiful things here and it changed my entire life. It took me 2 or 3 years to save up to get this EOS R. This is Canon's first mirrorless model, and basically it's the fanciest camera that I felt I could have in my collection at the time. It had this little pop-out screen that turns around and swivels. And basically what mirrorless cameras are, if you're not familiar, when you go to take a picture, there's a mirror inside of your sensor that flaps up and down. And so basically you're taking a picture of a reflection. With these mirrorless cameras, there's none of that inside. So when you look through your viewfinder, you're not seeing a reflection, you're seeing exactly what's right in front of you. And that just allowed for higher image quality, more megapixels in your photos. And I was like, man, I gotta have that. I gotta have it. So I saved up and I bought it. And again, me not doing my full research, I didn't know that I needed an adapter piece. Because when Canon started to make mirrorless cameras, they switched the lens mounts from the EF lens, which works for this camera, my film camera, and they switched over to these RF mounts. So when I went to go get this camera, I was like, I'm gonna have to buy all new lenses, which made me stressed because if you know cameras, you know they're expensive. And the lens costs just as much as the camera. But then the people in the store told me about this RF to EF adapter mount. And it was a sigh of relief. I was so relieved. I spent an extra $100 for this little adapter piece, and it allowed me to attach all the same lenses that I've used for years to this new mirrorless camera. And so this was my collection. I started to become a bit of a nerd, especially during the pandemic, and I was just researching what cameras I could get. I found this nice little shop on Etsy, and I bought me 2 of these little point and shoot cameras. These are nothing fancy at all. Like I might have paid like $15 for each one. This is like a Vivitar Vistatella camera. It's like a toy camera, almost, if I'm being honest. But it's fun for me to sometimes just pop a roll of film in here, maybe an expired, and to just walk around and shoot. I don't rush to get through a roll of film in this. I just kind of let it run its course. And the other one that I have, I'm actually letting someone borrow it right now, so it's not presently here for this video. And then I kept searching and I kept searching and I kept searching. And inside of a thrift shop one day, somebody found me these two 35mm cameras. This one is the Pentax ME and then the Minolta XGM. Again, do not have caps for these. So if anyone would like to send me caps so that way I don't get dust in these, feel free to do so. If not, don't mention it in my comments. But I need to get lenses for these and I need to get these fixed. So I'm probably gonna send these over to KEH, which is a used camera shop and repair company. They're my favorites. They're not sponsoring this video yet, but I love them very much. But I'm gonna send these over there just to make sure everything works well on them, make sure that I don't have to get any additional parts, and I'm gonna get the lenses that I need so that way I can start shooting with those too. This was fun. This was a good little story time. But this is my camera collection. This is what I walk around and shoot with most of the time. Most days I won't bring all these cameras out anymore. I'll probably just bring the R and maybe the 35mm film camera. I keep this more so as like a relic. It just reminds me of the investment that my granddad made in my career. And I'll never sell this. So people always like, why don't you sell your old cameras? Not selling it. Not selling. None of these are for sale. Actually, none of these. But this one sits in a display case inside my house. And I keep a little case. These, I roll around with these, this in a case. This thing is just like the coolest thing in the world. And then like, it has the viewfinder, so it's like a little square thing. But then if you press this, like, it's like a little button here, like, and it flap. You saw that? This little mirror thing here, coolest thing ever. And then you can kind of look down at it, and it's like a magnifying glass. Huh. Look at that.